Ladies and gentlemen, do we have a show lined up for you today? Are you falling for that real estate lead generation myth? We're going to find out why it's killing your career and what you can do to change that. Don't go anywhere. Real estate agents, are you struggling with the day-to-day grind, dialing for dollars, putting in hours of floor time with little to show for it? Are you looking for tips, tricks, and tactics to accelerate your career as an agent that will have you closing more homes, working with more clients, and earning more money than ever before? Hi, my name's Cliff Freeman, and I've spent the past 2 decades of my real estate career running one of the top brokerages in DFW and personally coaching over 1,000 high-performing real estate professionals across North America. I created this podcast to share the strategies and tactics you need to explode your real estate business. I guarantee it. That's right, I guarantee it, and I apologize. I've got a little bit of an upper respiratory going on here, and we are fresh off the boat from Puerto Rico via Orlando. C3, great to see you here. Glad you made it. Glad you made it. Made it back on the cruise. The boat is still moving, Travis, man. We got sea legs, man. I'm telling you.
It sounds like it's too many mojitos. The upper respiratory issue is going on.
Yeah, you know what they do down there in some of the islands, man? They don't even put rum. They use tequila in the mojitos.
Oh, really?
And that gives you a whole different perspective on the
Way
world.
different spin on it. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's a different set of glasses you're looking through.
Make some good stories, I'm sure, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, I told you a little bit about our trip, man. We survived Tropical Storm Karen and a 6.3 magnitude earthquake.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Was that your first earthquake? Have you ever been through?
Well, that's the first earthquake I think that I really recognized as an earthquake.
Right on.
But, you know, I mean, we were in there and it was 11:30 at night and the bed was shaking. It reminded me, you know, you remember the old days back when you'd get a cheap hotel and there'd be a little coin box on the nightstand with a cord coming out of it. You put a quarter in there and
that was a little bit before my time, but I do know what you're talking about. I've seen it in movies before.
Yeah, who knows? That could have been the bed you were made on there, Travis. I don't know, man. All right. We have got an unbelievable talent on the show today, Mr. Dale Archdekin, all the way up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and go Cowboys. But hey, Dale, you're welcome here in Dallas anytime, brother. And I'm so excited to have you on the show. You are one of the GOATs, one of the greatest of all time trainers that I've ever worked with. You and I have had the pleasure to work together for a couple of years now, and you're actually coaching the Cliff Freeman Group, among other illustrious clients that you have in your portfolio. But man, I am super excited, and we're going to just lay it on these folks today. By the way, welcome.
Welcome, Dale.
Thank you for having me. And could you do that introduction again and hype it up a little bit? It was a little bland. It was a little mundane. It was a little pedestrian, Cliff. If you could just, I'm more like a sun god on top of a mount. And I'm kidding. Thank you so much.
I realized I skipped the part about parting the Red Sea and turning water into wine, but we'll cover that on the next time you're on the show. So Dale, man, you're a celebrity, Lab Coat Agents and that group you do in your cash call in and so forth. And I'm so excited that you're working with our team because I just know how effective you've worked with a number of mutual clients that we've coached together in the past and have had really terrific results. One of the things that I wanted to do during the show today, and our audience is, as you may well know, we decided to title this, are you falling for the real estate lead generation myth? It's killing your real estate career. I've chatted about this a little bit, but, from your chair, from your seat, you talk to a number of agents and you get all kinds of feedback and lead generation and so forth. Talk to our audience a little bit about what you feel like this big myth is. What's the hook, line, and sinker that we're all swallowing that's really killing us?
Listen, if you want somebody to buy something from you, tell them that you can make their lead generation easy, painless, and have a long line of willing and able buyers falling down at their door, and they'll pay you any amount of money to get it. So that's the first myth that people run into a lot that really jams them up. And prevents them from, realizing that it's not going to be easy. It's got to be hard. It's a grind. It's work, Cliff. And, you have more years in this business than I do. And you can attest to the fact that it ain't easy. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, right? It doesn't just fall down at your door. I see you work in what your capacity now. I admire seeing the work that you put in. And that's just something that people don't realize, trying to make it a, silver bullet.
Well, it's one of those things. I had a mentor when I first got into the business who suggested to me that, when you get into this business, you're going to be the most overworked, underpaid individual that you've ever known in your entire life. Yep. But after you've been doing it for a while, say 10, 20 years, then you're going to feel like the most overpaid, underworked person. And I think what finally helped connect those two dots for me was when I really got to understand lead generation. And there's a difference. There's lead generation, but when we talk about lead gen, it's easy to generate more leads than you can swallow. Much easier to generate leads than it is to convert those leads into quality prospects and clients. And as a result, I mean, it's a grind, Dale. It's like you talk about. It's the work that other agents aren't willing to do. And what is it that when you do your coaching, you have some really incredible coaching skills, first of all. But I know that you have some techniques that you employ to help agents sort of overcome either that fear that they have, or like the phone weighs 1,000 pounds. What are some of the strategies? What can you talk to our audience about that will help them realize that the phone is your friend? What do you tell people?
I think that it's a combination of things, Cliff. It's not just saying, hey, go and make those calls, but when we teach the techniques that we teach to agents, to ISAs, to any salesperson, really, what we're focusing on is we're trying to help them understand the psychology of the person that they're talking to. And there's different people that you're going to be talking to, right? Based on whether they're at the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, whether they're seeking information from you or whether they're not. And so once they understand those kind of mindsets of those people, and then we also teach the salesperson, hey, a lot of times somebody's not going to do what you want them to do when you want them to do it or who you want them to do it with. That's okay. Most agents who don't receive the training and ISAs who don't receive the training, oftentimes that's where they stop. They get stuck there, right? And maybe they might try to close again with really no purpose for doing that, other than I don't know what else to do, but I know I'm supposed to ask for an appointment or I'm supposed to move this lead forward. So when we teach them the techniques that are used to continue on in the conversation and feel comfortable doing it, teaching these salespeople that it's not an adversarial thing. I'm getting on the same side of the table with you. All right, so we're not going to do this, and we're not going to do it now, and we're not going to do it that way. Hey, I hear you. Let me understand why that is, and what the benefit is to doing it that way. I'm on the same side of the table with you. I want to seek the best solution for you too, because it sounds like that's what you're working on. Let me work on that best solution with you. And when you can teach salespeople how to do that, they become way more comfortable in having conversations with anybody because they take their ego out of it. That's a lot of what prevents people from having conversations with strangers, prevents them from picking up that phone or texting or going out at an open house and getting face-to-face with people. They're afraid of failure, one. They're afraid of how they're going to feel about themselves, and they're afraid of getting into this adversarial position with a stranger. And if you can take all of that off the table, they just naturally feel more comfortable doing it.
That's a great summary there of, and I know the way that you coach and getting people comfortable and confident in their own skin where they can, create that rapport with somebody. But let's talk about how you figured that out. I remember you telling a story one time about getting your face punched in by a few prospects, because I guess you and I both started out by watching in our illustrious sales careers. We all used to watch Glenn Ross, if you remember that show. And it's always be closing, coffees for closers and yada, yada, yada. So as a result, early on in sales training, years ago, we were all taught that, we had to sort of control the thing, and essentially we wound up vomiting on people, right? Barfing on people, instead of being sort of taking the Jordan Belfort track, which is that sort of building rapport and being more consultative in that approach. So what do you see, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see agents even today? And I know you do the cash call on lab code and so forth, but what are the biggest mistakes that you see agents making today that really could be very easily corrected?
The most frustrating one, Cliff, is when you listen to a salesperson who either has never seen a script, or they were given scripts and they don't know them, or they don't follow them, or they didn't practice them. And they speak to a lead and they don't know what to ask that lead, or they don't have a purpose for their conversation other than hoping that fish wants to jump into their boat, right?
Exactly.
And that doesn't often happen, does it? Right? You got to direct that fish to get into show it where the boat is, direct it to it, like bring it back around when it changes its mind. That's what you need to do with a lead. And so a lot of times when we're listening to these agents or ISAs, ISAs are paid and more often are well trained, right? Because you're putting money out on them every month. But with an agent, they aren't costing you much. So they're just out there doing things that are terrible and you're not listening to them. And they just keep doing it in a poor way. And what really frustrates me is I know that for that salesperson, it's not fulfilling what they're doing when they step up to the plate and they either get beamed with the ball or they just totally spin themselves into the dirt. It's not, they don't enjoy it. And I know the lead isn't getting it. That's pretty frustrating. So some of the biggest mistakes, they either don't know what their purpose is and they don't know how to guide a conversation because they haven't practiced it. And then also when they don't know how to guide a conversation, they will give up too easily, right? So a mild objection will shut them down and they don't know what to do at that point. I was thinking of using my neighbor who's an agent, and then when I hear, okay, well, if it doesn't work out, call me. And I'm like, God, what are you doing?
Oh my gosh, that's a classic. Yeah. I love that one.
That's, and that's the other mistake that we see. And then also, and this is reality. Agents get busy. They get busy. And, if you're busy, are you going to follow up with the one or two people who sound like they're going to do business with you, or the 15 people that you've already called twice and haven't returned your text messages, right? Those should go into the toilet.
Yeah.
And that's because the agents don't have a good system to be able to make lots of outreaches to cover the hot stuff and also work the not so hot stuff.
Right.
And so because their schedules aren't well coordinated, they run out of time and they can't do more lead gen. They can't generate more appointments for themselves or more nurtures for themselves. That would be another mistake that we see.
Right. We live in a swipe left, swipe right society now. And it's funny because I think that's the way young people are brought up to look at the world. And, I was just thinking, Dale, you've got a beautiful family, beautiful kids, beautiful wife. When you met your wife, did she say yes to every question that you asked her, or did you have to work a little bit?
You know how many times she said no to me, and she dumped me once. I tried to dump her once. She wouldn't allow me to and suckered me in again. And then and then I was like, okay, you got to go. And she talked me into it again. So I guess you'd say we both didn't take no from each other. She's also, by the way, a top producing real estate agent at this point. But it was hard, man. It was a fist fight to get into this relationship with her.
Yeah.
But she's amazing. So it was worth it.
Absolutely. And, that's what I get drawn to that analogy often because, people think that relationships are so easy to build and, everybody has their defense shields up. Look at how many robocalls we're getting. all this Facebook, social media stuff. I mean, I bet 2/3 of the people that I'm friends with, I hate to say this, but I've never even met them. I mean, I think we're all guilty of that. I got to be a little bit better about being selective, but it's just, we live in a kind of a different world now where that, the old days of building the relationship, which I think is foundational to being able to convert a lead, to get people to know you, like you, and trust you and want to hire you. You've got to demonstrate that you're capable of listening. Zig said, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a pretty darn good reason, right? That's so you listen twice as much as you talk. But so what else? I mean, we've got agents who are brand new. We have a full spectrum of viewers on our call, Dale. I'm sure we've got some mega teams out there with ISAs and so forth. I'd like to break it down a little bit here and see if we can unpack some value for some of the newer agents on the call here. What are some of the most important things that you would speak to an agent who's got less than a year in the business, say, about what are some of the very first things that they need to understand and really master when it comes to lead conversion?
They need to understand that unless they are out showing houses to a qualified buyer, or they are taking at a listing appointment or promoting their listing that's listed with them, they don't have anything else to do other than make conversations and connections with potential buyers or referral partners. That there is nothing else for them to do.
It's that simple.
That's what they should be doing all day long. And in fact, if you're an agent with less than a year or two in the business, or less than, say 5 shopping buyers and 2 or 3 active listings, then you should be making a minimum of 30 contacts a day. That's what I would say.
All right, let's break that down a little bit. 30 contacts. Give me your definition of a contact.
Define contact for the audience.
Yeah, it's a conversation with a decision maker about real estate who can tell you yes or no.
All right, so that includes everything from internet generated leads to Sphere. Give us some more examples of who people should be talking to, Dale.
Yeah, friends, family, business associates, connections, the guy at the gas station, your bank teller, internet leads for sale by owners, expireds, withdrawals, really any human being that either wants a house or has a house. That's who, right? So where can you find those people? They're all over the place. And you just need to be having those conversations. And just to clarify this, let's say that you're at a networking event or something, or you're having lunch with a local probate attorney or something. Obviously, you're going to have some kind of conversation in that lunch about, hey, do you know anybody that's looking to sell their house this year? Now would be a great time to cash out. We don't know what the market's going to do. Or, hey, the market's gone way up. You know anybody who'd like to know what their new home value is? Let me know if you run into them. That's a real estate conversation. That's a connection, right? So these are the ways that you're making contacts. And, you can door knock, you can do all of those kind of things, right? You can go and volunteer in your neighborhood. Hell, you could stand outside the grocery store and hand out your damn business card. You're going to find somebody eventually, right? So make contacts. That's what you have to do. There is nothing else for you. You don't have a business unless you have clients and past clients, right? You don't really have a business. So you have to go and make the business every single day. That's for newer agents.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to what my mentor told me years ago, which is, when you first start out, you're going to work harder and make less money than you do later on. And the whole reason why is because you haven't developed a book of business. And it should be everybody's objective and everybody's goal to work toward working off of your existing client base, your repeat clients and so forth, so that you don't have to stand on the corner, and talk to people and that sort of thing. I mean, that's the grind, right? You see, the new people that get in the business don't understand. And, Gary Keller said it very well. We're not really in the real estate business. We're in the lead gen and lead conversion business. And as soon as you understand that, then you're going to be more successful in this business. How many, so you talk about 30 contacts a day. Let's put that in perspective in terms of hours. Do you ever speak to people about how many hours a week they should be prospecting?
It's hard. I don't just give a blanket, but I would say that for newer agents who don't have a lot of appointments, if you any given day that you don't have an appointment, if you're working, you easily have 3 to 5 hours that you could be lead generating or prospecting or making calls or talking to people or door knocking or whatever you're doing, right? You easily have that much time. If you're in production, you're carrying 5 or 10 listings. If you're a listing agent where you've got 5 or 7 hot shopping buyers, you're going out each week, and you're going on 1 or 2 new buyer consultations a week or a listing appointment, a couple listing appointments a week, then maybe if you're really diligent and you're really well time blocked, you can carve out 2 hours a day, right? 2 hours of 9 to 11 each day, Monday through Friday, to be able to do your lead generation. And if that's the case, depending on whether you're single dialing or whether you're multi-line dialing, will determine how many contacts you can make.
Right.
And if you're call, text, email, social media message, right, for 2 hours a day, if you're doing that with a single line, then you generally can make somewhere between 5 and 8 contacts in an hour. So you'll get 10 to 16 contacts for that 2-hour block.
All right.
If you're more lead gen oriented and you're using a triple line dialer and you've got lists, in 2 hours you can blow through 300 dials, right? And you can have 20 or 25 contacts, maybe up to 30, depending on your pickup rate.
Right.
And then once you're really in production and you've got a bunch of referrals coming in, you're doing a lot of appointments, that's when agents start to struggle with consistent new lead gen. Because they just have so much business coming in. And that's when they then consider, you're either bringing agents onto your team to help with that, or you're hiring an ISA onto your team to manage those relationships, move someone from a prospect to a lead to an appointment for you. And again, continuing to grow and add more agents to your team, add more ISAs to your team.
Okay, so let's talk about that segment of our audience out there that is past. Let's say they're in the sort of the messy middle part of our business, as we talk about kind of about 7 levels or whatever you want. But they're at the point now where maybe they've got a buyer agent or 2, and there's that process that you have to go through. If you decide you really want to go the expansion route, you're going to have to grow that team from 2 buyer agents to say 6 or 8. And at what point what's the whole thought process, Dale, that you coach people to about how to build a team from 2 agents to say 6, and maybe when do you bring the ISA? What's the secret sauce? What's the formula for making a successful transition from 2 to the next level?
Well, I'll say this. You can bring an ISA into your organization at any point that you have more leads than you can work. Okay, so if leads are going unworked, you've got piles of leads that aren't getting worked. And I'm not talking about, I have 5,000 circle prospect names and numbers. Those are not leads, right? Those are just suspects.
Those are suspects, right?
Yeah, that's just something that you throw people onto if you're a brand new agent or if your ISA runs out of people to talk to. So that doesn't really count. But if you have more inbound leads than you can work, that's when you bring on an ISA to work those for you. So you could be a solo agent and do that, or you could have a small team where you've got a couple agents, you're buying enough leads that are coming in, things are getting generated, your agents are out there working for open houses, or you're doing lots of client appreciation parties in addition to that. So you've just got too many leads to work. Your agents are working well. They're out on appointments. They're doing the prospecting they can do, but stuff's falling through the cracks. You can bring in an ISA to manage that database and really cultivate it for you. But for the team leader themselves, given the example that you gave, I'm a team leader. I'm still in production. I have a couple of agents that are producing on my team, and we know there's always a spread. You've got your top ones and your lower ones. I think that the first thing that you have to look at is how dialed in do you have your accountability and a culture of lead generation on your team, right? If you have a very solid culture of lead generation and accountability, your agents are reporting their numbers, your agents are lead generating in whatever method you prescribe or whatever method they find comfortable. But they're doing it, they're consistently going on appointments, they're consistently signing contracts. Then I would look at bringing in additional agents, right? And look for the ones that will fit that model with you. Usually when you're a smaller team, it makes more sense if you look for local agents, usually local solos that are in production, but they're frustrated because they're trying to do everything and they can't grow. And what they need is leverage, right? Those are usually the sweet spot for a smaller team. It's not bringing on the newbies, right? People with zero experience or who just relocated to the area and don't have a sphere or database or anything like that. Because it's basically like having a newborn. That's hard to do. Right. So when you're in that small growth stage, you're looking for people that have assets that are going to bring them to your team, right? They've got shopping buyers that aren't under contract yet. They have some listings they can bring over. They have a sphere of influence they can work, and they're not afraid of working it. Those are the people that you want to bring on into that smaller team. Once you have, depending on the metrics of a team, once you get to the point where if the goal of the team leader is to get out of production, you're typically looking for your existing team to at least break even on the expenses of your team, right? Before their production breaks you even. Now you can start to get out of production and really focus on growing the team. Then once you start to get into profitability over and above the break even with your team, now you can start to look at, okay, can I develop a solid system to bring on brand new baby agents, who can't even wipe their own butt yet, and grow them up with me. That's usually the growth trajectory.
Right. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because I think that some agents get too quick to hire new agents because their friends see how successful they've become and they want to help their friends out. But the fact of the matter is we still have about an 80% failure rate in industry wide for first year agents. And if you are trying to help somebody, the odds are really stacked against you. And I'm not trying to discourage new agents, because we all at one point were fresh out of real estate school and didn't know up from down. But the reality is that the last thing you want to do that's a very difficult place to be in your real estate business, because you have so much pressure on you. You don't have the leverage. And if you try to increase your workload by becoming, a mentor to new agents in addition to servicing your own business and so forth, that can really wreck your career, which kind of gets back to the subject matter of our show today, which is how people are essentially sabotaging themselves, in our business by mismanaging the lead conversion part of their business. And one thing that I wanted to add here, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Dale, is part of the reasons that we are sabotaging our business is because we think that more leads, and you said this earlier, you touched on it, more leads is going to solve our problems, whereas the reality is that more lead conversion will solve the problems. Can you talk to our audience a little bit on the difference there?
Yeah, just like more agents won't necessarily solve your problems and can in fact sink your battleship. Exactly. Yeah, same thing. True. Yeah, so the lead conversion, it is it's the most crucial thing that has to be worked on. And in my, I've had my coaching and training company for several years now, and I think that over the course of that time, I get approached by a lot of team leaders and brokers. I think that I've only turned down one, maybe two of them, when I actually looked at their conversion metrics and I said, "You're there. I can't push you farther. We can't push you farther. You're there." But for the most part, almost every other person I've spoken to has a lot of room to increase the conversion that they could otherwise have before they've maxed it out. And what happens is that, the systems aren't in place a lot of times. The skill sets aren't in place with the agents, or they aren't reinforced, right? And they aren't measured. What's that phrase? What measured with
What's
something
measured
that
improves, what's measured and reported improves dramatically, and then what's measured and is reported publicly improves exponentially, something like that. Is that
yeah,
close?
exactly. That's it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's close.
Precisely. That is what goes on with lead conversion. And so some team leaders just think, hey, I'm going to pump more leads and we're going to pump more leads in, and somehow magically more dollars are going to fall out the other end. But that doesn't happen because the machine on the inside is broken.
Right.
And so you have to take your machine apart, rebuild it, and then make sure that it keeps working correctly because they always break.
Yeah, I heard one of our mutual friends, Ben Kenny, describe it one time as though picture a wheelbarrow, right? And you're filling that wheelbarrow up with dirt. Eventually, at some point, that wheelbarrow is going to get full, and what's going to happen to the dirt that you keep piling on? It's just going to run down the sides, right? And it's the same thing with lead generation. That's why we typically talk about with our agents having their Sweet 16 or their 30 top leads in a bucket where they can focus on follow up and converting those leads instead of dealing with literally hundreds or thousands of leads in their bucket, and they just tend to get lost and covered up, and they wait for the lead to call them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, I've worked with companies where they've got 10 ISAs, they have 45 agents, and they have over 50,000 leads in their database. They can't work. At a certain point, you just can't work that stuff. They can't. It takes them 6 months to turn their lead pile over, right? To be able to get all the way to the bottom and back to the top again. It's too much. And the automated systems aren't going to do everything for you. They just can't,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know, you brought up something. I know we're at the end of our show here, but you talked about automated systems. What role does that play? And has that actually replaced, or is it how's it affected the artificial intelligence, texting, and all that stuff? How has that hurt or helped lead conversion today?
It's definitely helped because as long as it's used properly and it's used as leverage, basically to be able to get more done in less time, it's helped people convert more leads. Because what we were talking about, when you have a team, the leads that are in the database have a tendency to atrophy, they rot, right? So the more automated systems that you have in conjunction with real human beings taking over at a certain point and having the text convo or the email or the phone conversation really helps to prevent as much rot going on in your database so that you can be there when somebody's ready to talk to you, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Well, Dale and I, listen, time is it's just amazing. I'd love for this show to be an hour or two long, but unfortunately we're just about to get past where we need to be. I did want to mention that we do have a Facebook group, the Cliff Freeman group, and Cliff's Notes. And if you'd like to join that, Dale, I'd like to get you in there if you can, and maybe be available to answer some questions from our audience. If somebody wanted to reach out to you in the audience, Dale, directly, how would they find you?
Very easy to find. Dale at smartinsidesales.com, or I'm on Facebook. Very easy to find.
Okay. And also, if you have... Well, how about those folks who are going to be in Vegas October 5th? Where are you going to be?
I'm going to be speaking in front of them, and I'm going to be hanging out next to you. So if they can find you, they can find me.
That's right. We're going to be at Top Golf next to the MGM in Vegas Saturday from 10 to 3. If you happen to be out there, our brokerage, EXP, is having a big convention, EXPCon 2019, and that'll be the 2nd through the 4th. And then that Saturday, we're all gathering together. Not all of us. It's actually a small group, but we've selectively picked some high-producing top agents to join. And Dale, you're going to be among 3 or 4 outstanding presenters that we're going to have at the mastermind, and I'm really excited about that. And I can't wait to see what you've got to share with us. Man, what a great show today. I'm so grateful, Dale, for you to be here. I think we just really, if the audience will go back and watch this again, there were so many things that you said that they need to go back and listen to with regard to how to get their lead generation and lead conversion straightened out now, because
100%.
My gosh, I mean, the work that you've done to help our mutual clients, my clients, and now my team. It's made a total difference in the business. I mean, where else can you not spend any more money and yet increase your income just by pushing on that little dial, man, that lead conversion dial? It's such a game changer. Yeah, exactly.
Get some.
Yep. Well, my friend, I'm looking forward to seeing you in what, a week
5th?
or
Yeah,
something like
That's
that. I
next
can't.
week. Holy
My
cow.
days are turned around, but it's going to be awesome. Thank you again for being on the show today, audience. We love you guys. Show us some love out there. Hit the heart. Show us some love. Hit the like button. Get a hold of us directly if
And we're going to also put the Eventbrite link to the mastermind in the comments.
That's right. Yeah, we are.
So be sure to register for that if you're going to be in Vegas. Can't wait. It's going to be at the Top Golf at the MGM, right?
That's it. Top Golf MGM, October 5th.
It's going to be great. I'm excited.
You got it, brother. All right.
That's it. Sign us off.
Yep. So we'll see you from the top or at the top. Or at the top or from the top?
Either way it works.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.